The luxury cruise ship Celestial Harmony moved slowly through space like a giant floating city. Its white hull sparkled with thousands of lights as it carried passengers from many different worlds. Inside the ship, beings from across the galaxy enjoyed their vacation together. Some had fur, others had scales, and a few looked almost human but with different colored skin or extra arms. Dr. Kim Minji sat by a large window in the observation deck, watching the stars pass by. She was a young Korean woman with short black hair and curious brown eyes. Her notebook was full of drawings and notes about how different alien species talked to each other and made friends. This was her job, studying how different kinds of beings got along. She smiled as she watched a group of blue-skinned children play with floating toys while their parents chatted nearby. At another table, a tall being with 4 arms was teaching card games to some furry creatures who looked like walking cats. Everyone seemed happy and peaceful. The ship was on its way to visit Kepler 7, a famous trading station where people from all over the galaxy came to buy and sell things. It was supposed to be a safe, fun stop on their 3-week tour of the galaxy. Suddenly, the lights in the room turned red. A loud alarm started ringing throughout the ship. Minji looked up from her notebook as other passengers began to look worried. The ship shook like someone had hit it with a giant hammer. "Attention all passengers," came a voice over the speakers. "Please remain calm and stay in your current location. This is a security situation." Through the big window, Minji saw dark shapes moving outside. Black ships with sharp edges and glowing red lights were attaching themselves to the cruise ship, like hungry insects. She had never seen ships like these before, but something about them made her feel very afraid. The other passengers started talking in worried voices. Some were holding their children close. Others were trying to call for help on their communication devices, but nothing was working. Heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway outside. The doors to the observation deck suddenly opened with a loud bang. Tall, scary-looking creatures walked in wearing thick armor and carrying strange weapons. They had green, scaly skin, yellow eyes, and sharp teeth that showed when they talked. "Nobody. Move," one of them said in broken Galactic Standard, the common language most space travelers used. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "You're Karnoth. You will do as we say."
Minji had heard of the Karnoth before. They were space pirates who stole people and sold them like animals. Most governments tried to stop them, but they
were very good at hiding and moving fast. The Karnoth soldiers spread out around the room, pointing their weapons at the frightened passengers. One of them held a small device that made beeping sounds as he pointed it at different people. "We need specimens," the leader said to his soldiers. "Young ones, healthy ones, rare ones. The fighting pits always need fresh blood." "Make herself small and invisible," but the soldier with the device was walking closer to her. When he pointed it at her, the device made a loud, clear sound that was different from the others. "Human," the soldier said, looking at his device. "Human. Very rare in this part of space." The leader's yellow eyes focused on Minji. "Excellent. The collectors pay extra for humans. They're strong fighters, but not too strong. Perfect for the games." Strong hands grabbed Minji's arms and pulled her to her feet. She tried to fight back, but the Karnoth soldier was much stronger than her. Around the room, other soldiers were grabbing passengers. A young musician with silver skin, an old diplomat with tentacles instead of arms, and a family of small, furry traders. "Please," Minji said, trying to stay calm. "I'm just a scientist. I study how people communicate. I'm not worth anything to you." The leader laughed, showing all his sharp teeth. "You are worth much to us, little human. Your species fights well when they must. The crowds love to watch humans in the arena." As they dragged her toward the exit, Minji saw other passengers looking at her with sad, frightened eyes. Some tried to help, but the Karnoth weapons kept them back. Security guards lay unconscious on the floor they had tried to fight, but were not ready for such a well-planned attack. The corridors of the ship were full of smoke and flashing lights. More Karnoth soldiers ran through the halls, carrying stolen goods and more captured passengers. They moved like they had done this many times before. At the airlock, Minji got her last look at the Celestial Harmony. The beautiful cruise ship now had holes in its side where the pirate ships had attached. Emergency lights blinked everywhere, and she could hear people crying and shouting for help. The Karnath ship was dark and cold inside. It smelled like metal and fear. They pushed Minji into a small cage with the other captured passengers. The ship's engines started up with a loud roar. As they flew away from the cruise ship, Minji pressed her face against the small window. The celestial harmony was getting smaller and smaller until it was just another light among the stars. Didn't know that in a few hours, news of her capture would reach Earth. She didn't know that her disappearance would start something that would change the entire galaxy. She only knew that she was very far from home and very scared. The Karnath ship jumped into hyperspace, carrying her toward an unknown fate. The emergency meeting room in Seoul was filled with the most important military leaders on Earth. It was 3 a.m, but everyone was wide awake. The large screen on the wall showed a picture of Dr. Kim Min-gi smiling at her university. Graduation. Lower photo were the words missing, taken by Karnath raiders. Fleet Admiral Park Hyun-woo stood at the front of the room. He was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. He had been protecting Earth and its people for 30 years. In all that time, he had never felt as angry as he did right now. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said in a quiet voice that somehow made everyone listen carefully. 12 hours ago, Korean citizen Dr. Kim Min-gi was kidnapped by space pirates. She was on a peaceful vacation, studying how different species communicate with each other. He clicked a button, and the screen changed to show the Karnath raiders. Their ugly, scaly faces filled the room. These creatures took her to sell as a slave. They think humans are good for fighting in their death games. General Lee Doyon raised his hand. "Sir, I understand this is terrible, but the Galactic Commonwealth loses hundreds of citizens to pirates every year. Most governments file complaints and try to negotiate. It usually takes months or years." Admiral Park turned to look at the general. His eyes were cold as ice. "General Lee, how many daughters do you have?" "2, sir." "And if pirates took one of them, would you wait months for? Diplomats to have meetings and write papers?" General Lee was quiet for a moment. "No, sir, I would not." "Dr. Kim Min-gi is not just one person lost in space," Admiral Park continued. "She is our people. She carries our flag, our culture, our hopes. When someone hurts one of us, they hurt all of us." The room was completely silent. Everyone understood what the Admiral was saying. "Sir," asked Captain Choi Jun-ho, "what are your orders?" Admiral Park pressed another button. The screen now showed a map of human space, with green dots representing every ship in the Terran Defense Force. There were 300 ships scattered across dozens of star systems. "Every ship, every soldier, every weapon we have will focus on one mission," Admiral Park said. "Bring Dr. Kim home safely and make sure the Karnath never take another human again." The military leaders looked at each other in surprise. Using the entire fleet to rescue one person was something that had never been done before. "Sir," said General Yoon Soo-ji carefully, "the cost will be enormous. Fuel, supplies, soldiers' time could cost billions of credits." Admiral Park walked over to the window and looked out at the city of Seoul. Millions of lights twinkled. In the darkness, each one representing families like Dr. Kim's parents. "General, what is the value of a human life?" he asked without turning around. "Sir, that's impossible to calculate." "Exactly," Admiral Park said. Turning back to the room, "It cannot be calculated because it is infinite. Dr. Kim's life has infinite value. Therefore, we will spend whatever is necessary to protect it." Within 2 hours, every human ship in space received the same message: "Return to base immediately. Emergency mobilization authorized. Priority 1 rescue mission." On a cargo ship near Centauri, Captain Song Min-woo read the message twice before calling his crew together. "Ladies and gentlemen, someone took one of our people. We're going to get her back." On the research station orbiting Jupiter, Commander Lim Tae-yoon gathered his scientists and engineers. "Stop all current projects. We're retooling for military support operations." On the far side of the galaxy, the crew of the exploration ship, New Hope, changed course immediately. Even though they were in the middle of discovering a new planet, the aliens who watched human space were confused. Their spy satellites and listening posts reported the same thing. Every human military ship was moving at once. It looked like Earth was preparing for the biggest war in galactic history, the Altarian. Ambassador called the Terran embassy. "What is happening?" he asked nervously. "Our sensors show massive fleet movements. Are you declaring war on someone?" Ambassador Kim Jong-un, who happened to be Dr. Kim Mingi's uncle, answered calmly. "We are retrieving stolen property. Could be worth mobilizing your entire fleet? A human life." The ambassador was quiet for a long time. Just ... one life. "There is no such thing as just one life when it comes to our people," Ambassador Kim replied. "Every human matters equally. Every human is worth everything we have." Away on Gorvak Prime, the fortress world of the Karnath Empire, War Chief Gorvak was reading intelligence reports about human fleet movements. He threw the papers on the floor and laughed loudly. "Stupid humans," he told his generals. "They make war over one female? This proves they are weak and emotional. Let them come. We've defended this world for 1,000 years. We have 800 ships and weapons that can destroy planets." But his laughter stopped when his intelligence chief brought him more reports. The humans weren't coming straight toward Karnath space. Instead, they were spreading out across the galaxy, heading toward every place the Karnath had friends or got supplies. "What are they doing?" Gorvak asked, suddenly not laughing anymore. The intelligence chief looked worried. I think they're going to destroy everything connected to us before they come for the girl." On Earth, Admiral Park was explaining the plan to his staff. "We don't just want Dr. Kim back. We want to make sure this never happens again. We're going to dismantle their entire operation, piece by piece." The greatest rescue mission in human history was about to begin. Captain Choi Jun-ho watched his ship appear from hyperspace like a ghost materializing from thin air. The Silent Resolve was one of Earth's newest stealth destroyers, invisible to most alien sensors. Around him, his crew worked quietly at their stations, checking weapons and preparing for battle. Through the main screen, you could see their target, a large space station floating near a dead planet. It looked like a metal city in space, with docking bays full of ships and cargo containers. This was Supply Depot 7, one of the places where the Karnath got fuel, weapons, and food for their pirate fleets. "Sir," said Lieutenant Yunari. "From her intelligence station, I'm reading about 200 beings on that station. Most are Karnath, but there are some other species working with them." Captain Choi nodded. For the past month, human ships had been hitting Karnath supply bases all across the galaxy. Each attack gave them more information about where the pirates got their support. Each victory made the Karnath weaker and more desperate. "Remember the mission?" Captain Choi told his team. "We capture the station, take all their computer files, and arrest anyone who might know where Dr. Kim is being held. We don't kill unless we have to, but we don't take prisoners who won't help us find her." The attack began without warning. Human Marines appeared inside the station like magic, using teleporter technology that most aliens had never seen before. Their armor was black and silver, and it moved like liquid metal around their bodies. Their weapons fired bolts of energy that could stun enemies or cut through metal walls. The station's defenders tried to fight back, but they had never faced anything like human military technology. Their weapons bounced off the Marines' armor. Their communication systems stopped working when human hackers took control of their computers. Within minutes, the battle was over. Captain Choi walked through the station's control room, stepping over unconscious Karnath guards. Lieutenant Yu was already connecting her computer to their main database, downloading everything they had stored. "Sir, this is incredible," she said, her eyes wide as she read the information flowing across her screen. "They have client lists, supply schedules, payment records, everything we need to find their other bases." Karnath officer, wounded but still alive, looked up at Captain Choi with hatred in his yellow eyes. "You cannot stop us, human. We've been raiding for centuries. Kill us, and 10 more will take our place." Captain Choi knelt down beside the alien. When he spoke, his voice was calm but absolutely certain. "We're not here to stop raiding in general. We're here for one specific person, Dr. Kim Minji. Where is she?" Karnath laughed. showing his sharp teeth. One female. Attack R. Operations for one worthless specimen? She's not worthless to us, Captain Choi replied. She's priceless, and we'll tear apart your entire empire to get her back. Similar scenes were happening all across the galaxy. Human ships appeared without warning at Karnath's supply bases, fuel stations, and meeting places. Each attack was perfectly planned and executed with deadly precision. On the pirate haven of Blackrock Station, Commander Park Soyan led her assault. Teamed through corridors filled with smoke and emergency lights. The station's criminal bosses had thought they were safe. Hidden in the neutral zone where no government's laws applied, they were wrong. Please don't hurt us, begged a smuggler who had been selling weapons to the Karnath. We're just business people. We don't ask questions about our customers. Then start asking, Commander Park replied. Where do the Karnath take their prisoners? What planets do they use as bases? The smuggler quickly told them everything he knew. Smart criminals were learning that helping humans find Dr. Kim was much safer than protecting the Karnath back. On Earth, Admiral Park stood in the command center, watching reports come in from across the galaxy. Green lights showed successful missions. Red dots marked Karnath facilities that had been captured or destroyed. The map looked like someone was erasing the pirate empire piece by piece. Sir, reported General Lee, we've hit 67 Karnath. Operations in the past month, their supply network is falling apart. Many of their allied criminal groups are trying to distance themselves from the Karnath. Admiral Park studied the map. Good. Fear is a powerful motivator. When criminals see what happens to people who hurt humans, they'll think twice about working with slavers. On a distant trading world, alien crime bosses held an emergency meeting. The room was full of smoke and worried voices speaking in many different languages. The humans are destroying everyone connected to the Karnath, said a purple-skinned gang leader. My cousin's smuggling operation was completely wiped out yesterday. They're not negotiating. They're not taking bribes. They're not playing by the old rules, added another criminal. They just want their person back, and they'll kill anyone who stands in their way. An old pirate captain with mechanical arms slammed his fist on the table. This is madness. No species goes to war over one individual. The cost is too high. I tell that to the humans, replied the gang leader. They don't seem to care about cost. Within days, criminal organizations across the galaxy began cutting all ties with the Karnath. Supply contracts were canceled. Safe harbor agreements were terminated. Information about Karnath movements started flowing to human intelligence. Services from sources who wanted to avoid becoming targets themselves. On Gorvac Prime, where Chief Gorvac read the latest reports with growing anger and fear. In just 1 month, the humans had destroyed over half of his empire's support network. His advisors looked nervous and kept glancing at the doors as if they wanted to run away. How is this possible? He roared. They're fighting a war over one worthless female? Perhaps, suggested his intelligence chief carefully. She is not worthless to them? The hunt was far from over. But the Karnath were beginning to understand that they had made a terrible mistake when they took Dr. Kim Minji. Dr. Kim Minji sat on the cold metal floor of her prison cell, counting the days by scratching marks on the wall.
Ow.
3 months had passed since the Karnath raiders had taken her from the cruise ship. The cell was small and dark, with only a tiny window that showed a slice of purple sky. She was not alone in the underground prison. Hundreds of other prisoners filled the cells around her, beings from dozens of different worlds, who had been unlucky enough to cross paths with Karnath raiders. Most had given up hope of ever seeing their homes again. Another ship landed today, whispered Kala, a blue-skinned woman from the next cell. That makes it the 20th one this week. Something big is happening up there. Mingy pressed her face against the small window and looked up. Even from deep underground, she could see dark shapes moving across the sky like storm clouds. Ships. Lots of ships. More ships than she had ever seen in one place. The prison guards were acting strange too. They whispered to each other in worried voices and kept checking their weapons. Some of them looked scared, which was unusual for Karnath warriors who were normally very confident and cruel. High above them, Admiral Park stood on the bridge of his flagship Unconquerable, looking down at the planet Gorvac Prime. Around his ship, 300 human vessels floated in perfect formation. They had traveled across the galaxy to reach this moment. The planet below was covered with cities, military bases, and weapon platforms. Massive defense stations orbited the world like deadly moons, their guns pointed outward at any approaching enemy. This was the heart of the Karnath Empire, a fortress that had never been conquered in 1,000 years of warfare. "Sir," reported Captain Song from his position at the communications station, "we're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface." "Put it on screen," Admiral Park ordered. The face that appeared was ugly, even by Karnath standards. Gorvak had yellow eyes full of hatred, scaly green skin, and teeth like broken glass. Behind him stood dozens of his generals, all wearing their finest armor and looking confident. "So, the humans finally arrive," Gorvak said in his grinding voice. "I am War Chief Gorvak, ruler of this world and commander of 800 warships. You are brave but foolish to come here." Admiral Park stepped forward so the alien could see him clearly. He wore his dress uniform with all his medals, and his face showed no fear at all. "War Chief Gorvak," he said calmly. "I am Fleet Admiral Park Hyun-woo of the Terran Defense Force. You have something that belongs to us. Dr. Kim Min-ji, Korean citizen who was illegally taken from a passenger vessel 3 months ago." Gorvak laughed loudly, showing all his sharp teeth. "One female. You brought your entire fleet for one worthless specimen? Humans truly are as emotional and stupid as we thought," returned Dr. Kim and all other prisoners immediately. Admiral Park continued, ignoring the insult. "Surrender your military forces. You have 1 hour to comply." The laughter died on Gorvak's lips. "You dare give me ultimatums? This world has stood for 1,000 years. My defenses have never been broken. I have weapons that can destroy your ships before they reach our atmosphere." Admiral Park checked his watch. "You now have 59 minutes and 45 seconds. Gorvak's face turned darker with rage. "You want your precious female? I will execute her personally and broadcast it across the galaxy. Then I will hunt down every human ship and sell your crews in the slave markets." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge of the unconquerable in silence. Admiral Park turned to his staff officers, his expression unchanged. "All ships prepare for assault," he ordered. "Target their defense platforms first, then their fleet. I want prisoner extraction teams ready to deploy the moment we breach their defenses." Down in the prison, the guards were getting more nervous by the minute. Some of them kept looking up at the ceiling as if they expected it to fall down on them. Minji could hear explosions in the distance, getting closer and louder. "What's happening?" asked an old prisoner who had been in the cells for years. "I think," Minji said with growing hope, "someone is coming to rescue us." 47 minutes after Admiral Park's ultimatum, the first human ships broke through Gorvak Prime's outer defenses. But this wasn't the kind of attack the Karnath had been expecting. Instead of simply bombing the planet, human forces attacked with surgical precision. Their weapons didn't destroy everything in sight. They targeted specific systems, specific buildings, specific defensive positions. It was like watching a skilled doctor perform surgery instead of a barbarian swinging an axe. Captain Song Min-woo led the rescue team that fought their way into the prison complex. His powered armor allowed him to move faster than any normal human, and his weapons cut through blast doors like they were made of paper. "Dr. Kim Min-ji," he called out as his team swept through the corridors.
"Here, I'm here,"
came a voice from the cells below. When Song found her, Mingi was weak and thin from months of poor food and little exercise. But her eyes were bright with hope and determination. "Are you really human?" she asked, almost afraid to believe it. Song's helmet retracted, showing a young Korean face with a gentle smile. "Yes, ma'am. Captain Song Min-woo, Terran Defense Force. We've come to take you home." As his team freed the other prisoners, Minji looked around in amazement. "You came all this way for us?" "We came all this way for you," Song corrected. "Every person in these cells matters, but you're the reason we're here." Above them, the sounds of battle were ending. The fortress that had stood for 1,000 years had fallen in less than an hour. 6 months after her rescue, Dr. Kim Min-ji stood in front of the biggest meeting room in the galaxy. The Galactic Commonwealth Assembly was a huge curved hall where representatives from over 100 different worlds came to make important decisions. Today, they had all come to hear what she had learned about humans during her terrible experience. Minji looked out at the audience and saw beings of every shape and size imaginable. There were tall, thin creatures with 4 arms, small, furry ones with big eyes, and others that looked like walking trees or floating jellyfish. All of them were listening carefully to her words. Most civilizations in our galaxy think about problems the same way she began, speaking clearly so the translation computers could help everyone understand. When something bad happens, you ask questions like, how much will it cost to fix? How many people might get hurt trying? Is it worth the risk? She paused and looked at the section where the human representative sat. Admiral Park was there in his dress uniform, along with Ambassador Lim and other Earth officials. Humans are different, she continued. When the Karnath pirates took me, every other government in the galaxy did what they always do. They filed complaint papers, they asked for meetings, they said they would try to negotiate for my release, maybe in a year or 2. A murmur went through the crowd. Some of the alien representatives looked uncomfortable because they knew this was exactly what their governments had done. But Earth didn't ask how much it would cost to save me, Minji said, her voice getting stronger. They didn't wonder if one person was worth risking their whole fleet. They didn't try to balance my life against other concerns. They simply decided that I mattered, and nothing else was more important than bringing me home. In the audience, Admiral Park remembered those first emergency meetings when they decided to mobilize every ship in the human fleet. At the time, some people had called it crazy. 6 months later, the results spoke for themselves. The Karnath Empire no longer existed. Not because humans had destroyed their planets or killed all their people, but because humans had systematically dismantled everything that made their pirate operations possible. Every supply base, every ally, every safe harbor, all gone. Humans didn't stop with rescuing me, Minji continued. They freed every prisoner in the Karnath dungeons. They captured every pirate and slaver in the organization. They found new homes for people who had been slaves for years, and there, helping former pirates learn honest jobs. This was true. The old Karnath worlds were now peaceful places where humans helped former enemies build better lives. Schools had replaced training camps for raiders. Farms had replaced weapons factories. It was like watching a disease being cured by kindness and determination. Ambassador Lim stood up when it was time for questions. He was an older man with gray hair and calm eyes that had seen many difficult negotiations. Ambassador Lim asked the representative from Centauri Prime, "Economic analysts have calculated the cost of your rescue operation. You spent enough money to build 1,000 schools or feed 1 million hungry people. How do you justify such expense for one individual?" Ambassador Lim was quiet for a moment, thinking about how to explain something that seemed obvious to every human but was hard for aliens to understand. "The honorable representative," he said finally, "you're still thinking about this the wrong way. You see Dr. Kim as one person balanced against the cost of helping many people, but we see it differently." He gestured toward Mingi, who was sitting in the front row. "Dr. Kim is not separate from our schools or our hungry people. She's our schools. She teaches others and learns new things that help everyone. She is our hungry people, someone who depends on all of us to protect her when she cannot protect herself. When we saved her, we were saving ourselves." The alien representatives looked confused. This was not how their governments thought about individual citizens. "Every human life has infinite value," Ambassador Lim continued. "Not because we are more important than other species, but because this is how we choose to think about each other. When you value something as infinite, you cannot balance it against anything else. You simply protect it, no matter what it costs." Rigelian Trade Minister raised one of his 4 hands. "But surely you must have limits. What if saving one person required sacrificing 1 million others?" "Then we would find a way to save all of them," Ambassador Lim replied without hesitation. "Humans are very good at finding solutions that other people think are impossible." As the meeting ended, representatives from across the galaxy walked away thinking about what they had heard. Many of them sent messages to their home governments, asking difficult questions about how they valued their own citizens. Over the next year, something interesting happened. Piracy against civilians dropped to almost zero throughout the galaxy. Not just against humans, but against everyone. Criminal organizations had learned a hard lesson. Some species were willing to pay any price to protect their people. Dr. Kim returned to her research, but now she had a new project. She was studying how the human idea of infinite, individual worth was slowly changing the way other civilizations thought about themselves. "It's spreading like a good infection," she wrote in her notes. "Species that never cared about individual citizens are starting to ask why not. Governments that accepted losses as normal are starting to wonder if there might be another way." The galaxy was slowly learning that sometimes one person really could be worth everything.